Nischal Maheshwari joins in. Nischal, always a pleasure to welcome you on NDTV Profit. Now, my first question, of course, market has seen a recovery, 25,600 levels look comfortable amidst all the global headwinds and a lot of uncertainty. What all are really paining and ailing the markets for this volatility coming in that we are seeing on a regular basis?
Afternoon, Nisha, to you and your viewers. I think uncertainties are pretty well defined. You have a geopolitical situation which keeps on evolving every day, and you keep on getting new news all the time. Then there is the second thing is the tariffs issue, basically, of the US tariffs. Maybe for last 15 days, there was some amount of semblance out there. But now with this Supreme Court issue in the US, I think this is again become an issue.
Right, Nischal. In
And
fact, US is keeping the entire world on tenterhooks with several, even after the Supreme Court verdict, there have been several changes and several comments which have kept the uncertainty going despite the apex court's verdict on the tariff matter. But Nischal, when we talk about the IT space, that is seeing a huge amount of rebound in trade today and is really outperforming the overall market. How do you see this trade of IT, and is there an investment strategy and point in really investing at these levels in the tech sector while the AI disruption can still keep coming from several quarters and especially global and US markets?
So I think in the short term, it was oversold, and that's why you are seeing basically this kind of a bounce back, some amount of, I would say, maybe a dead cat bounce kind of a thing. So for a short term, basically, one can look at for taking some profits, but definitely not for investments. I don't think so. The sector has bottomed out as yet. It is too early for us to figure out basically what would be the long term impact of AI on the IT sector. So I think it's totally avoid.
Okay, totally avoid. And the thing that you mentioned, Nischal, is that it's a dead cat bounce. That is a very important takeaway coming in, that it is a dead cat bounce and may not be a sustainable recovery when it comes to IT or even for long-term investment strategy. When we talk about the other sectors like metals really shining in trade, there is global impact on the metal stock prices as well. How would you strategize for a sector like this, which is high beta?
So one have to be careful basically about metals. I think it has run up quite a bit. But yes, I think there is a trade basically which is happening across the world, and where you are seeing some amount of buying across both China as well as the US. And that's why we are seeing a good rebound happening as far as metals is concerned. But I think quite a bit of it is already priced in.
Okay, a lot of it is priced in. And does the banking sector, Nifty banks underperformance today worry you, along with PSU banks also, which are in the red, or one of the few sectors in the red today?
Not much of a worry basically, but yes, PSUs, I think some amount of profit taking is happening. And we are seeing it being balanced out by the private sector. And private sector has not performed for last whatever, one and a half, 2 years. So I think that sort of a balance is being made. So one day private sector works and the other day PSUs work. That's the way it is happening. But overall, that seems to be a good place to be in.
All right, good place to be in. It's also quasi-investment into the Indian economy. So I would keep the banking sector performance, especially private banks, on my radar to also sense and gauge the investor confidence in the economy, Nischal. But my final question, what would your suggestion and a trading strategy be at this particular point for investments? Which could be the pockets, which could be really looking mouth-watering for investment for short to long term?
So I think more domestic focused, domestic oriented industries. So I think cement, construction, metals, defense. These are some of the sectors basically which should be looked at, and maybe slightly longer term than power and sectors which are more associated with the benefit which the government has given recently in the budget about the data centers. So some industries which are catering to that, I think those are the industries basically one should focus on.
Any stock recommendations, Nischal, or something that could be a long-term bet for a sustainable growth going in?
I think some of these banks, large cap banks, ICICI, IndusInd, HDFC, I think these are good long-term bets.
Right. And when we talk about some of the news developments around the solar sector, now this is one sector, Nischal, which has really attracted a lot of investor confidence as a sector of the future. But with this 126% duty that has been announced by the US, and the stocks like Wari, Premier Energies, these are all really taking a hit in trade today. How worried will you be about this particular space, and does it also change your overall investment strategy for this space?
So we have to see how much exports in the US, basically all of these companies put together. I think the number is not even $1 billion. So it's not a very big number per se for the whole industry per se. Some of these companies have already set up their plants in the US, and incrementally most of their supplies to their US customers would be through that US plant only. So I think these companies already are aware of the issues, and they are working towards that. Yes, in the short term, you may see some impact here, but on a longer term, I think growth is very, very strong. So there is some definitely a long runway for most of these solar companies.
All right, so big takeaway for the solar companies which are really taking a hit on this duties that have been announced by the US, where it may be a knee-jerk reaction in the immediate term, but for the long term, your view remains same. Any other sector which you want to point out where the change in scenario or developments has changed your strategy and your view towards that sector?
I think IT has been one basically
Yes.
where it was looking like that they are looking to bottom out. But with this Anthropic couple of announcements, I think the view has completely gone back, and we are once again basically evaluating whether to really look at that industry. But the uncertainty is huge.
Right. Thank you so much, Nischal, for joining us. It's always a pleasure to take your perspective on the market all the time on NDTV Profit. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.